There's death, there's destruction.
Global news impacts us.
We have to change the way we live. This is why we need independent media.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Hard Lens Media. This is our Wednesday show. Joining me here today, our tech priest agency, or FaZe, is manning the board. We got joined here today with my co-host Daniel Upker. Also joining us here live via Zoom is the wonderful, incredible, outstanding, stupendous Kira McCown is in the house. So glad to have you here. Also want to give a shout out to all of our wonderful moderators that are joining us in our live stream chat. We got a whole bunch of new ones. Shout out to Ayana, E. Heller, Gamer for Life, Fred Edward, and Mona Carmona.
Mona's still the moderator of all moderators.
Yes, of course. So congratulations, all of you. I know we made some new moderators yesterday. Also, we've got a lot to unpack here real quick. But first, I just want to give just a heads up to everyone. Thursday and Friday, we will not be doing the live stream show. We decided, hey, look, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, let's spend time with our friends and family. However, I will be joining you guys. So I will be doing some short live streams Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's going to be the Kit Cabello show.
Yeah.
For the next 4 days. So, you know, in case anyone's wondering, where's Hard Lens Media at? We're enjoying our Christmas break, but I will also be joining you guys for some short live streams. And basically, you know, let's just try and be safe out there. I know it's the holidays. Please wear a mask, wash your hands. If you're going to be with loved ones, please be safe about it. But with that being said, I also want to give a shout out to all these incredible Patreon supporters. I'm going to power through this list, because you guys are the main heart and backbone to what we do here. You're the soul of our studio. And if you want to be a Patreon supporter, that link is in the description box below. But with that being said, let's get started with this awesome and incredible list. Shout out to Steve Ferraghi, Kate Wagner, Colin Hutchinson, Joel Crowell, Anna Kay, Kimberly Schwank, Brett Norum, Roger Holdham, Catherine Rosenfeld, Rem Richards, Cosmo Bidger, Jasmine Loza, Doris Fillion, Carla, Steph G, Harry Hightower, Peter Zedek, JJ Stinkman, Richard Brasswaite, Cynthia Henderson, Sally Laporte, Sylvia Ross, Laura Bomber, John Sweezy, Robert Nash, Patty Target, James Barnett, Robert Gilza, David M. Smith, Ben, Tommy Sheffer, Jennifer MC Clinton, no relation to Hillary Clinton, I hope, Metal Rockstar, that's an awesome name, David Brown, Roos, Jose Rec, Big Papa Ken, and Paradise Lee. You guys are honorary Patreon supporters. Again, without you guys, we would not exist. Please consider being a Patreon supporter. But with that being said, Hard Lens Media is live every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Really helps us out with the algorithm. Check out our Rockfin show. We're live every Monday and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. We actually had to re-upload a live stream because Comcast wanted to screw around. But that full interview is up. Please share it. Please check it out. Subscribe to us on Rockfin. Again, we're live on Rockfin every Monday and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Check out our fun channel, Chicago Reacts. Check out our Discord page. Follow us on Twitter. And with that being said, we've got an awesome show. I'm seeing everyone in here with us right now. Let's get started with all the good stuff. But Daniel, you got something you want to say?
I was going to say, it's really funny. I'm watching this is now the second day we've had more mods, and it's really funny to watch everyone in chat have a wrench.
Yeah,
oh
no,
yeah, I
love
forgot to give a shout out. Oh, by the way, I forgot to give a shout out to Allie Alexandria. She's also one of our new moderators as well. Allie, I apologize for forgetting. I'm getting senile and everything is new to me.
I just realized it's like, oh right, this is what happens when all the regulars that talk on the channel get moderator privileges. A lot of wrenches. It's very funny.
All right, well, let's all use our powers responsibly. Come on, we're trying to live in a society here, folks. But with that being said, we've got a lot to unpack. And again, just a quick reminder, Thursday and Friday, we will not be doing our live stream show. But was that
I got to go a final call out from Jesus. Thank you for joining us, Jesus. With all the mods, it looks like blue no matter who.
Oh, Jesus, no.
Hey, you've come to the right place.
Hey, not in this household, sir. Sir, you could turn water into wine. You can walk on water. Not in my presence.
We're totally changing our tune. Blue no matter who. Blue all the way. Blue dog.
Well, speaking of which, I think that's a perfect segue, Kira, because we are going to talk about vote blue no matter who people. So let's get started with our first segment. I have an outstanding article from David Sirota. Hey, vote blue no matter who people. You said that, you know, Biden is better than Trump, and we got to stop Trump. Trump, because Trump's a bad person. Well, it turns out Biden's austerity zealotry helped cut the stimulus bill in half. But, oh, wait, I thought Biden's better than Trump. Well, what is going on? Well, Let's check this article out. If there's any consistent thought line in Joe Biden's long career, it is commitment to ideology and of the ideology of austerity. He has obsessively pushed for Social Security cuts for decades. For decades. Trump's been in office for 4 years. Trump could say whatever he wants as a private citizen, but Biden, as a U.S. senator, for decades, been calling for cuts for Social Security. And he is stocking his administration with deficit hawks. Oh my goodness. I thought he was supposed to be progressive. Well, that's what everyone said when we had to hold our nose to vote the lesser of two evils, including today's announcement that notorious Social Security cutter Bruce Reed will be White House Deputy Chief of Staff. Biden has even threatened to veto Medicare for All legislation on the grounds that it costs too much, even though Congress says it would actually save a lot of money. Hey,
who cares about math, though?
Hey, to all those larger channels that were saying that Biden's the best and we're going to hold his feet to the fire, tell me, how's that crap sandwich taste? I mean, you look like an idiot biting into it. See, now I have half a brain, and I'm not the smartest person in the world, but when I see a crap sandwich and a turd burger, I walk away and I slap that person in the face for showing me that kind of stuff. That's what a person who uses their brain do. I don't believe in fear. Now, in the whittling down of the stimulus legislation, we see the first concrete example of how Biden's ideology can change policy in the here and now and in deeply destructive ways. As pain and suffering is crescenting across the country, Biden refrained from aggressively pushing the bipartisan initiative for 1,200 survival checks. You don't say! Indeed, at a time when there was legitimate chance to flip some Republicans, including Donald Trump, against McConnell and push for more robust stimulus, he demurred. However, the New York Times reminds us today that Biden was not an idle bystander in the negotiations. On the contrary, the paper of record tells us that the president-elect played a decisive role in making sure the legislation was cut in half. Here is a key excerpt from it. Faze, let's focus on that key excerpt. It's highlighted in bold. So all of you at home get to enjoy and read it with us. With Republican and Democratic leaders in the House and Senate far apart on how much they were willing to accept in new pandemic spending, Mr. Biden, on December 2nd, threw his support behind a $900 billion plan being pushed by the centrist group, Pragmatic Group. The total was less than half of the $2 trillion that Speaker Nancy and Senator Chucky Boy, Democrat of New York, had been insisting on. Mr. Biden's move was not without risks. If it had failed to affect the discussions, the president-elect risking looking powerless to move Congress before he had taken oath of office. But members of both parties said his intervention was constructive and gave Democrats confidence to pull back on their demands. Hold on. Let's take a break here. And again, you guys can read the full article in the show notes below, but let's take a step back. Throughout the entire primary and general election of 2020, corporate media and blue check marks on Twitter were saying, well, Biden is pragmatic. He's smart. He's been in politics. He cares about people. He embraces everyone. He wants to turn the soul back to our country. So see, that crap bill, we covered it yesterday. That crap bill covers a coup in Venezuela, money to Israel, more naval defense spending, more missiles, more weapons, more war, more tax breaks for the top 1%, and $600 for us. That's what Biden thinks about us. I mean, this is the guy that's better than Trump. You would think, in theory, after everything that corporate media and a lot of the liberal media and blue check marks and larger independent networks that were like TYT, Majority Report, you guys were saying that Biden, he's better than Trump. Your guy David Sirota highlighting in full detail what's fundamentally wrong with Biden and Nancy. But real quick, before we even get commentary on this, Faze, and I'll tell you when to pause it, let's play this video from Fox News. You've heard me talk about this before, and how Nancy wanted to stop all the stimulus checks after March because she wanted to hurt Trump. Let's play that video.
Trump signing a one-week government funding extension as spending and stimulus relief talks push ahead on Capitol Hill. Congressional leaders hoping to pass a full-year appropriations package and a COVID response bill before then. A bipartisan group of lawmakers will present their $908 billion relief bill later today. And joining me right now to talk more about that and a lot more is the House Minority Leader, House Republican Leader Kevin McCarthy. Congressman, it's always a pleasure to see you. Happy Monday, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Maria. And today is a much better day than yesterday. The vaccines are moving. the world is going to be better, and definitely America is going to be better, because this will not be the only vaccine. There's more coming, and I think this first quarter, at the end of this first quarter, America is going to look so much stronger and better, and a lot of that credit goes to President Trump for Operation Warp Speed.
Yeah, I love that we're talking about this right now. The president told us we would have a vaccine by the end of the year. People mocked him, and yet here we are. Tell me about your reaction to some of these lockdowns. We were just talking about New York City, for example. Indoor dining, done. Not going to happen, according to Governor Cuomo, because we are seeing spikes in coronavirus cases, even as we do talk about this positive news with the vaccine being delivered.
You know, it's very sad because we see more than hundreds of thousands of small businesses closed. I opened my first small business when I was 20. I know what it's like to have a dream. And then to have it shattered by government. What's even worse, though, is what Nancy Pelosi has done. We were able to get that paycheck, the PPP money, out to the small businesses that helped them pay their employees, pay their rent, get them that bridge across while we battle COVID. But more than 40 times since this summer, the Democrats have voted no to letting more money out. They don't even have to appropriate more money. There's $138 billion still sitting there. But she uses it as a political tool, and it wasn't until just last week that she finally admitted what we all knew, that she was doing it for politics. She wanted to hold it up because of the election. She wanted somehow to hurt President Trump. And remember, she is the only person in this country that believed doing nothing was better than doing something. But that's exactly what she's done with the power of the House.
And let's pause
Well,
it
that's
right
really
there.
irresponsible,
Let's actually pause it right there. So, again, this is the Democrats' plan. These were the same Democrats screaming from the rooftop how bad Trump is, how evil Trump is. And look, I get it. I didn't want to see Trump elected in 2016, and I didn't want to see Trump get reelected in 2020. The Democrats running corporate candidates made me sick, and I did not want to vote for some neoliberal centrists like Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden. And now we're seeing firsthand just how inept the Democrats are. Donald Trump gave us $1,200. Biden interfering with the negotiations, and Nancy, being selfish as she is, wanted to hurt Trump, but instead they hurt Americans. And we're seeing how Biden is a negotiator and how he plans things out. We do not have a seat at the table. So all those vote blue, no matter who, people who made people afraid and voted for Biden, how do you feel now, knowing that pretty soon he's going to be far more draconian in tax cuts and cutting social programs than Donald Trump ever was? In fact, a lot of Republicans will be foaming at the mouth, especially those in the establishment, the Republican establishment to be more precise, those in the Senate, those in the House, those who are part of Republican leadership, who are just like the Democratic leadership. They're going to be foaming at the mouth, wishing that they could do even a fraction of what Biden and his administration has in plan for us. Because $600 is okay, and it's okay for us to be evicted from our homes, and Nancy's is very okay was hurting us too. Daniel, Kira, what are your thoughts?
So I just have a quick statement on this. Nancy Pelosi playing politics has killed thousands of people. There are people that have died because they have not had access to money and they got evicted, or they couldn't buy enough food, or they couldn't pay for medicine, or they were perhaps too stressed, or any number of issues. But Nancy Pelosi decided that the humane thing to do to get Joe Biden elected, the necessary evil perhaps, was to kill thousands of people by leading a charge against people getting money. And right now we have a large, like about 10% of people that at any moment, they keep pushing the date back. It's just a kicking down the can down the road sort of thing. But at any moment, these people are going to get evicted and go homeless and a lot of different things. And this is the Democrat strategy. The Democrat strategy. And even now, the Democrats are like, we don't need to give money to people. We can just hold back and wait 4 months until about April to do something about the suffering of the American people. Of course, people will die in the meantime, but, you know, the Democratic Party is quite compassionate. And it took Trump outlefting the Democrats with a $2,000 demand and a veto to this bill, which, as we talked about before, can't actually be called a stimulus bill. It's a bill with a lot of stuff in it that happens to have a stimulus portion in it. But it's so weird that Trump, again, is offering or attempting to offer more money to the American people. than the Democrats are. The Democrats who I was told have been elected into power because they're better than Trump.
Kira, what's the final word?
Yeah, when I watch this kind of political theater, that's all I see. It's all this is political theater. This story, the next story. I just feel like the Democrats can't exist without the Republicans. The Republicans can't exist without the Democrats. When you look into all of the reasons they've been kicking this can down the road, they just like piggyback off of each other. You hear something like, oh, well, the Republicans wanted that liability waiver for the corporations up until about last week, and so on one hand, you're like, well, that does kind of suck. That is kind of horrible, but somehow, and I guess I shouldn't even say somehow, you can actually see how that brings down how much to spend in stimulus, so it's like, oh, well, if we don't get the liability waiver, then we want to spend less. And, this kind of report that outs Biden for exactly what he is, which is he is a deficit hawk, and he has been for decades. Those two things together, and then on top of so many other things, like Nancy Pelosi literally coming out over the summer saying she doesn't want Trump's signature on checks. She said that. It's not like, oh, maybe this is how she feels. She was very clear about that. Makes it super clear for us as Americans to look at this and say, like, this is all just a game. This is all just a means of continuing to shortchange us, to give us the littlest amount of money, stimulus as possible. Stimulus, we can't even call this a stimulus package. This is a survival package. This is, bare bones, like, so people aren't literally dying in the street, but I think that they've successfully foiled that as well. It's pretty disastrous. And we knew this was coming with Biden. I think, like, we as a collective here in the studio, but then also our audience as well. And even though we did know it was coming, it's really disheartening. It still feels like a total stab in the back. And Kid, I always love what you say about, or maybe it's you, Daniel, about, the Democrats will stab you in the back and the Republicans will stab you in the front. It's just like, which one is better, which one is worse. At least you can defend yourself when they come at you from the front.
Yeah, we're a nation of people going, hey, I prefer to not see it coming, and people going, hey, I'd prefer to see it coming, and then us here on this little channel going, yeah, but why not just not get stabbed?
Yep.
Yeah.
And real quick, I want to give some shout outs. Big Baby Zuba says, hell yeah. Anna Jackson says, barely survival. Letitia Cortez says, we need to revolt, period. And of course, this is a shout out to you, Kira. Mission says, preach, sister. And I think we all can agree. We can all agree at this point that the Biden austerity administration is something that I was afraid of. We were all afraid of. We were talking about this on the show. And look, just a quick reminder to all the vote blue no matter who people. Final comment on this. Trump's not being prosecuted. He's not going to jail. And everyone, you got to promise me this. Pretend to be shocked. Work on your shocked face. Like, Trump is running again in 2024? You don't say! Because the Democrats are going to screw this over. Hashtag force the vote, because people like Nancy need to go. With that being said, we're going to switch things up and move to our next story segment. Before we do, again, shout out to everyone that's joining us. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and especially hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, because it really helps us out. Share our content on social media. We are getting out of our shadow ban, and it's really been an outstanding and humbling experience seeing all of you join us again. This is Chicago's fastest growing independent media network. Without you guys, we would not exist. With that being said, Kira, you got a story for the people. What is going on?
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about what we touched on in the last story, which is how Trump wants to out-left the left. And which, I mean, I know.
Who knew?
I know. Mind exploding. But I don't think it's that surprising either that Trump could go and would go in this direction. I mean, he did when he campaigned back in 2016. He was, touting removing troops from overseas. He was also touting healthcare for everybody. So I'm not horribly surprised that he is into the idea of giving Americans $2,000 instead of $600. Not to mention, I mean, it's Donald Trump. He definitely wants to put his name on a much bigger number than $600.
What is this 600? It's not enough money.
When you got Trump saying that's not enough money, you know you're in the wrong spot.
Isn't his haircut like $700 something? So what
are you gonna do?
I can understand why he doesn't want to put his name on those pennies. But anyway, he did express some dismay with a $2.3 trillion package that Congress passed just Monday, which includes, like you're pointing to, Daniel, the $900 billion in corona relief. So it's just one sort of conflated, collapsed package where I think it's, to be exact, $908 billion was siphoned for coronavirus relief, $1.4 trillion to fund the government through October. So he actually gave a talk that he posted to Twitter. I think we're going to be showing a part of that. And you guys, I apologize. I wanted to go in and cut it up for you and make it shorter than 4 minutes, but this is what you get today.
Let's actually play this video. And again, I commented on this last night on a short live stream, but here's Donald Trump's full speech. Now, again, not all of it's factually accurate. The only thing I'll give him credit for is he's saying that the $600 stimulus is not enough. Everything else, folks, take with a grain of salt. This is Donald Trump we're talking about. He's no saint or angel, but
I'll do the Trump interpretation.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I like that idea.
All right, cool. Let's
because I'm going to be delayed. So yeah.
All right, cool. Let's play that video phase. And
Democrats cruelly blocked COVID relief legislation in an effort to advance their extreme left-wing agenda and influence the election. Then, a few months ago, Congress started negotiations on a new package to get urgently needed help to the American people. It's taken forever. However, the bill they are now planning to send back to my desk is much different than anticipated. It really is a disgrace. For example, among the more than 5,000 pages in this bill, which nobody in Congress has read because of its length and complexity, it's called the COVID Relief Bill, but it has almost nothing to do with COVID. This bill contains $85.5 million for assistance to Cambodia, $134 million to Burma, $1.3 billion for Egypt and the Egyptian military, which will go out and buy almost exclusively Russian military equipment, $25 million for democracy and gender programs in Pakistan, $505 million to Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama, $40 million for the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which is not even open for business, $1 billion for the Smithsonian, and an additional $154 million for the National Gallery of Art. Likewise, these facilities are essentially not open. $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico, a provision to promote the breeding of fish in federal hatcheries, $3 million in poultry production technology, $2 million to research the impact of down trees, $566 million for construction projects at the FBI. The bill also allows stimulus checks for the family members of illegal aliens, allowing them to get up to $1,800 each. This is far more than the Americans are given. Despite all of this wasteful spending and much more, the $900 billion package provides hardworking taxpayers with only $600 each in relief payments. And not enough money is given to small businesses, and in particular restaurants, whose owners have suffered so grievously. They were only given a deduction for others to use in business their restaurant for 2 years. This 2-year period must be withdrawn, which will allow the owners to obtain financing and get their restaurants back in condition. Congress can terminate it at a much later date, but 2 years is not acceptable. It's not enough. Congress found plenty of money for foreign countries, lobbyists, and special interests, while sending the bare minimum to the American people who need it. It wasn't their fault. It was China's fault, not their fault. I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple. I am also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done. Thank you very much.
Gotta throw something in the end to keep people on their toes, make sure it's newsworthy.
He's a hell of a showman.
It's
That's what I'm willing to give him.
It's
That's
crazy
as far as I'm going to go
that
for
in a
him.
lot of that, I was like, that's reasonable.
Okay, Trump, you're making some sense.
It feels weird, doesn't it? It's like, oh, it's like I'm in an alternate universe. But just to be responsible, right? What's in the actual stimulus, the stimulus package is, let's see, there's $286 billion in direct aid, which includes the $600 checks, which, yeah, $300 weekly unemployment benefits, $325 billion for small businesses, $82 billion for schools, $69 billion for public health measures, including vaccination testing, $45 billion for transportation, so that the airline company can, stay afloat, $25 billion for rental assistance, $13 billion for additional SNAP benefits, a ban on most surprise medical bills, and some other interesting things like the 3 martini lunch tax provision that would allow. So Daniel, we're going out to dinner and lunch on Hardlands.
At the John Hancock building, right?
Write that off, right? Exactly. There's also other weird add-ons where a statement of policy regarding the succession or reincarnation of the Dalai Lama, part of an entire section on Tibet. The establishment of 2 new Smithsonian museums, $2 billion for Space Force. So there you go. $35 billion for clean energy research and development, which is an interesting thing to put in a stimulus package. Maybe for development and infrastructure. Giving West Virginia a national park, banning USPS from mailing electronic vaping products, several changes to copyright law. Decriminalization of various minor violations, including transportation of water hyacinths. I don't even know what that is. Alligator grass or water chestnut plants.
Ooh, alligator grass.
Yeah, the requirement of carbon monoxide detectors in public housing, and an anti-doping program for horse racing, as well as a new racetrack safety program.
Okay, all right. Well,
it's amazing.
So that's what's in the stimulus.
But $600 for us. And Trump once again outflanks the Democrats and says, no, this isn't right. $2,000. And Trump, look, wanted to give us more stimulus checks, and it was Nancy and now Biden who said, no, we want to stop you and hurt you, Trump. All those vote blue no matter who people. Are you happy with your crap sandwich? Because we're all less suffering because of all this fear of, oh no, Trump. And then at the end, of course, people are saying, well, Trump's not going to leave office. Trump is going to resign from office. Yeah. Don't worry. Don't worry. The orange man's leaving. But I just want to let everyone know that at the end of the day, Trump has done more for us than the Democrats. And only 2 Democrats have done the right thing and that is Representative Tulsi Gabbard. Oh no, that might trigger some people. And Representative Rashid Tlaib, who realized that reading a 5,000+ page document in just a few hours is not right, and that they had every right to vote no on it. And Tulsi Gabbard, Representative Tulsi Gabbard, and Representative Rashid Tlaib did the right thing. So, Congress, Nancy, you and your friends are not going on break yet. We want more. Hell, dare I say it, the American people are entitled $8,000 because, again, we haven't got our stimulus check since March. You know what? I'm going to even go further. We deserve 10, 20 at this point. I mean, if Congress is going to make us spend money on counting fish, you better be giving us some money too. Because
and back payment for rent is like at least over $5,000 at this point, from what I understand. So that's why I think $600. Like, what are you going to do with $600? Great, no, like, I mean, if it's $600 or nothing, like, all right, I guess, but I didn't have to come to that. I just don't see it having to come to that. But I guess with the leadership that we have in place, it did have to come to that. And, just so that y'all know, Nancy Pelosi did quickly respond to this tweet saying that she was in full support of increasing the size of the stimulus checks. And again, like, this is what I'm pointing to, you guys. Like, I'm so sick of this crap because I just think it's all just bull crap. You know, it's all political fodder. It's all bull. They're all pretenders, not like the great, awesome, cool band either, like pretending to care. So, Daniel, sorry to take that away from you. It's just aggravating.
Fair point to
Daniel
make.
got the final
note.
Yeah,
But I think it's a reminder, because this gets lost, I feel, and it doesn't get talked about. This decision, ironically, Trump is on the right side of this issue and is asking for a clean bill that just focuses on the bailout. We're in a crazy world. People are going to die because of this political game. You said, Kira, that this is a political fodder. We're the fodder. We are the people that are going to die so that they can advance their careers and maintain the power that they are building in the way that they are. How many people have to die so Nancy Pelosi can put ice cream in a freezer? How many? There's a number. It might be for that, just that freezer. It might be a decimal place, but it's a number greater than 0. People die. People will continue to die because the U.S. didn't want to take COVID seriously and it wanted to play a blame game on each other rather than do anything about it. We have the worst number. We have the worst numbers of all the developed. You know what I mean? All the developed nations. And it's not because we're incapable of acting. It's because we have a terrible system that doesn't work in these circumstances. We don't have a Medicare for All type program so that people can get health without going bankrupt. And we're simply fighting for who looks better in a Congress that has a 13% approval rating. This is an end time scenario for an empire where the elites have gotten so abstractly removed from what you have to do in a pandemic when you have to help and buckle down and put aside your differences and work together. Their view of working together is putting more money in a bill that's not for the purpose of what you say the bill is about, while playing games and politicking about who gets what, and ultimately ending up with really only $300 billion plus the remaining CARES money in a bill.
Right.
That, congratulations. I mean, if it takes these bills 2 weeks to mail out, congratulations. The time you sent them to the time they arrived is about as long as the rent cost is for Americans, if not larger. And meanwhile, the American people are told to shut up. We have Biden. Everything will be perfect. Now eat your gruel.
So we should be happy with whatever we got. And I'm sorry. I know that we said Daniel has the last word, and I'm just going to
take it away.
Keep talking. I also wanted to make sure that I answered a very important question, which is JLG Forever asked if Trump has vetoed the bill. From what I understand, he has not vetoed the bill. And according to this particular article that I'm looking at, he said it says that Trump did not explicitly threaten to veto this package, which passed. But I do want to point to that this afternoon, Trump did in fact veto the Defense Spending Authorization Act.
So he
So
can veto some
that
aspects
is-
of it. It does, according to many of the recent reports that I have read about this too, especially from last night going into today's show as well. The Senate and House do have like a majority veto proof, but that's not saying that
Yes.
Trump won't be able to find a way for himself to be a hero of this story. I mean, it is possible, but Donald Trump's got to fight for it. And the fact that he vetoed the defense spending bill says a lot about the fact that he's willing to maybe do something. Again, who knows?
the
This is
way,
still developing.
How familiar are you guys with the signed signature power of the president?
Daniel, I think you're going to enlighten us. Tell us.
Are you going to
This
tell
is a
us?
literal thing that Bush did a lot, Obama did too, but Bush did a lot of. It's where you get the final bill and you just cross out certain things in the bill and change words around, and then you sign it. And those changes you made in the last minute actually become law. That's the power the president has, by the way. You can make minor changes to a bill.
Hey, Trump, heads up. Put in
Yeah.
10,000 instead of
just-
2,000.
yeah.
Do that, buddy.
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
Hey,
Do it.
Just find the 600 and just add a zero at the end of it.
No.
I did it.
Two
I
zeros.
added the zero.
No, 2 zeros. 2 zeros.
Yeah, okay.
60,000. Trump, come on. You could be Santa Claus. You want to be a hero? You want to be a hero? Trump? There's a lot of good things you could do. Come on, buddy. Get with the
Okay.
team. But with that being said, we do
very
have to move
quickly,
on.
Derek's
Go
correcting me
ahead.
on the word. It's called signing statements. The
Signing
Want to
statement.
make sure we use the right one. But yeah, it's hey Trump,
on.
if you want to just get around them and sign the bill, just cross out. I don't know. Cross out 2,000 pages of that other stuff and just add a zero or 2 zeros.
Yeah, no, add 2 zeros. And Trump, guess what? December 25th is Christmas. You could be Santa Claus. Don't you want that? Don't you want
to
that,
every
Trump?
American, I've just given you
$60K.
$60,000 on my way out. What a good guy I am. I'll see you in 2024. Peace, guys.
Yep, and then of course there's always going to be the blue check mark saying we gotta stop Trump. He's going to run again in 2024.
They sound like Mickey Mouse too.
Well, with that being said, all right, we're going to be moving things along. But before we do, we did get a Streamlab super chat.
Ooh.
Phase. Somebody sent us something.
Yes, it's from Tony240SX, and they say, "What do you guys think of Andrew Yang running for mayor of New York?"
I'm
I
all
would
for
take
it.
him over De Blasio, that's for sure.
Hey, okay, well, I doubt
Is that
Andrew-
happening?
Yeah. Well, he has been hearing the idea, and what I would say to Andrew Yang, if you are going to be running for mayor of New York City, be the first mayor of a major metropolitan city to enact at least a city-level universal basic income.
Mm-hmm.
Show the rest of this country and the political establishment that we need universal basic income. And if he still runs in that policy and is successful getting New York City, the big melting pot, a major metropolitan city, to enact a universal basic income for its citizens, then hey, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, it's not a dumb idea after all, is it?
Yeah, and I just want to throw out there on top of that, if we got a Yang in there, I mean, that'd be really interesting. I'd like to see how that works, but to see his other little ideas, he had a lot of ideas for bills. I'd like to see he's like, hey, New York, what if we? I don't know, something.
Yeah. Yep. So
That'd be neat. I would love to see him run for something and win something like that.
So
go.
unanimous support here from Harlan's Media. Again, thank you so much from the Streamlab Super Chat. If you want to give us a Streamlab Super Chat, that link is in the description box below. We also got a YouTube Super Chat from Big Baby Zubas, $2. Merry Christmas. Let's party next time I'm in Chi-Town.
Yeah.
Let us know. Again, right now we're being
gonna-
very careful.
By the way, and this is super inside baseball, but so actually right before the pandemic started, Kira, myself, and Kit were actually planning to host a party like we used to do. Those are coming back, guys. We're just waiting.
Yeah, we want to make sure
Can't
everyone's
wait.
safe. So to be continued. And Kira, I mean, you've hosted a lot of parties here in Chicago from the Rebel Rising.
I have.
Yeah, so I mean, they're
I
fun.
love throwing a good party.
Yes, exactly. It'd be awesome to party with Heartlands Media. I mean, come on. Hey,
Absolutely.
we
I
work
mean,
hard.
the first one out the door is going to have to be something very, very special. So
Absolutely, because we work hard, but guys, we also play hard too.
Well, the play hard is on pause for now, though, sadly.
That is true. But with that being said, again, Streamlabs Super Chat, that link is in the description box below. It really helps us out. It's better than YouTube Super Chats, but we like YouTube Super Chats too. With that being said, Daniel, you got a story for the people. What is going on?
Okay, so this is a slightly different style story than what I normally do, but this stuck out at me, and I like to anytime I see a story like this, I like to bring them to light because someone has to, and apparently it isn't the people that are supposed to. So I have to sort of, the way I talk about the story, I have to kind of amend the because of YouTube stuff. So
Yeah.
just a heads up.
Apologies in advance.
Yeah, but it's a story that we got to talk about because, goddamn. So the USASF, which is the gymnastics and athletic league, keeps letting predators coach young girls. I just want to put this back in here because we haven't talked about this, and it's something that is still going on. We had cases recently before the pandemic, and it seems to have gotten lost, and now we have this nice big story of an example. Let's just go into it. So in an interrogation room in a Washington state jail, Lenny Lewis Jr. spun an implausible tale on why he had downloaded child, let's call them videos, onto his coworker's laptop. Lewis explained to Kent police that he was sick of working as a cheerleading coach. He wanted to be fired from the gym where he taught tumbling to young athletes, and to ensure he would never again work in the sport. There's no way, he said in 2010, that I would be able to get a job after this in cheerleading. He was wrong. Because, we have, hey, if you smoke a small amount of weed a couple years ago, well, you're going to jail for life, but this guy got hired again. The criminal justice system did its part by convicting Lewis of attempted possession of child videos and placing him on Washington's sex offender registry, but Lewis kept coaching, slipping by a Kentucky gym owner who did not make him pass a background check. Then in 2016, Lewis used a fraudulent Social Security number to clear a screening for membership in the U.S. All-Star Federation, which is the USASF, the national governing body of competitive cheerleading. He might still be coaching today if he hadn't run into the gym owner who fired him for downloading child videos. Kim Kawachi said that she was so alarmed to see her former employee still working in the sport that she picked up the phone in late 2017 and called the USASF. When officials there told her Lewis passed a background check, she drove to the courthouse, copied the records showing his conviction, and sent them over to them. Months passed. Lewis kept coaching, and here's her quote, "It was just like, how much more could I possibly give you? Why can't you dig a little deeper on what's going on? Or is this just another thing on your damn desk and you don't want to deal with it?" It's amazing how these organizations are like, you know what? Let's put this aside. Let's not deal with it. There's no way this could hurt us in the future, said the entire Catholic Church. A USA Today investigation found that USASF has, by the way, really, just to go with the USAF, really hard to pronounce acronym. They're usually supposed to be easier. It's like HRM.
It's hard to even read. It's hard to even read in the head, like when I was reading the article.
Anyway, so yeah, has an inherently flawed process for investigating complaints, one with crucial gaps that have been repeatedly allowed adults accused or even convicted of sexual misconduct to remain around children because, responsibility is in their acronym. Sometimes the weird acronym doesn't even follow its own procedures, allowing complaints to stall mid-process or delaying actions when their policies call for a person to be suspended or banned. They've received hundreds of complaints against people accused of misconduct such as bullying, financial impropriety, sexual abuse. I thought, if anything, they would be taking these guys out for their financial impropriety because anything about these organizations, they want their money. Where were we? So, according to them, a contractor who said she and the organization's membership director were only the only ones handling the task from 2019 until she left this fall. Ginger Wilczak, the contractor, she said she worked just a few hours a week on their safeguard case manager, and even that was scaled back during the pandemic, in part because of financial constraints. Well, maybe if they went after all those guys with those financial improprieties, they might have enough money to do this. But the reality is they just don't care. Saying that if I made 10 hours a week, that was an extraordinary week. So that's barely part-time. So this is a situation where another large organization that deals with people, especially very young people, has turned a blind eye to abuse, is obfuscating the process and saying, not our problem, not our deal, we don't care. I want everyone to think for a second. Someone that goes through that abuse, how that changes them their entire life, regardless of what happens, but especially even if the person is caught and convicted, at least if they're caught and convicted. you could at least say some justice was served. Someone cared about me and what I went through. But when this happens and there's support lines that have no one operating them, no one there to respond or deal with these situations, that tells especially these young girls especially that when you're abused, don't call out. No one will care. No one, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're traumatized by it. Doesn't matter if this affects your relationship with authority figures for the rest of your life. We're the USASF. What we care about is more important than your life. Now, shut up and cheerlead. Shut up and be a gymnast and stop complaining.
Shut up and make us money, and shut up and pay us money too. Each one of these young girls and men, young boys too, who go into this kind of cheerleading, this kind of competitive cheerleading, spends thousands of dollars a piece to be a part of this federation. Cheerleading is a big effing deal for people who do it and do it competitively. And, you know, not only from the amount of time that they actually practice, the level of athleticism, the amount of turmoil they put their bodies through, but the amount of money their parents spend on this is astronomical. And so you would think that they might have somebody working more than, 10 hours a week on taking care of these sorts of complaints for coaches. They said in 1 year, they failed to ban 180 people who face charges relating to sexual misconduct. That's unacceptable, completely unacceptable. And to your point, Daniel, you know, I couldn't imagine being a young teenage girl and having the courage to come out against my coach and saying this person did this to, like, that's an authority figure, right? And we're often taught coming up that, you know, authority figures are the say all end all, right? So the level of bravery in your teen years to actually come out and do that, to just be ignored, is a complete slap in the face. And that's actually how she illustrated it for us in that report. And from the sounds of it, she felt like it was unprecedented too. So I'm really grateful for that. But fact of the matter is that a lot of people would take that as, oh, that's how the world works, and that's what I can come to expect. So when I go to college and I get violated, or, you know, any other number of things that happens to young people, saying something is not going to be in my best interest, nor will it do anything for me. The other thing that I thought was really interesting that I kept thinking about when I was reading this was how these coaches would be fired just to be rehired like less than a mile away at another gym. And you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of how the police departments work, right? Where it's just like, it's just like, oh, you murdered an innocent person. Okay, well, we'll put you up over at this county a few miles over this way, and no one will be the wiser. And just like,
do you remember when that happens? They're like, well, what's bad about that? And they're like, well, it's outside the city, so you don't get paid as much. Instead of $100,000, it's now $60,000. Oh, it's so sad.
So it's hard for me to follow up with everything Daniel has said and Kira has said. I'm pretty sure the live stream chat, like, everyone's disgusted by this story. I just want to bring up a story that we covered and I talked about on the show, and that is how Time's Up. Where are you at? Oh, that's right, because we covered a story how Time's Up, how they're spending most of their money on doing get-togethers at fancy places, hiring more speakers, and turning away people who are asking for help. Time's Up. Where are you at? Yeah. You're supposed to do good, right? Where are you? Where are you? Where the hell are you?
Yeah, and again, just, you know what is one of the worst chapters in someone's life that you can go through is paying an organization to grow you, having them traumatize you, and then saying, your pain is irrelevant to me. I'm not even going to put in the time. By the way, thanks for paying me for the experience.
Barbaric. All right, guys. We're sorry that this was an uncomfortable story, but we need to talk about this. This is why we exist here at Hard Lens Media. With that being said, we're going to move on to our next story. Before we do, we actually got a special guest YouTube Super Chat. Shout out to Nico House of the Me Casa Su Casa Network. $14.99 YouTube Super Chat. He says, and the whole family says, what's up, Hard Lens fam?
Hey, hey.
Keep killing it. Happy holidays. Happy holidays to the entire Me Casa Su Casa family from the Hard Lens Media team. Everyone be safe out there. Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa.
And more importantly, Happy Festivus. But I also forgot another holiday, too. We must always remember the day of Sanguinius as well.
Yeah, sure.
I feel very
okay.
left out again.
Did everyone hear the air come out of that balloon right there?
All right, whatever.
I listen.
Nico, thank you so much for the YouTube Super Chat. If you want to also give us a Super Chat as well, that's use the Streamlab link as well. You get a fun, awesome graphic. But with that being said, folks, we are going to move on to our next story. So this next segment, we're talking about Jimmy Dore. But let me just give a heads up. I am pro. I'm speaking only for myself right now. I'm pretty sure the team has their
I'm
opinions
also
too.
a pro.
Yeah, pro of
A pro
hashtag
what?
Force the vote.
Professional stuff.
Yeah. Hashtag force the vote. And the reason why I'm for it is because, look, we need to have Medicare for all. And this is bigger than Jimmy Dore. And I was waiting to see this. Now, of course, there's been a lot of sharing on social media about, oh, Jimmy Dore's got a $2 million house. I don't care about that. I mean, good. He's been saving up for that, okay? Okay?
By the way, isn't that in
who
LA?
cares about that?
In LA, isn't that like not that much?
No, it's not.
It's like
No, it's actually not that much.
No,
at
it's
all.
not. It's not that much at all. So, with that being said,
Yeah.
I found this wonderful article, and it's from New York Magazine. The less most naive cynics have turned on AOC. This is bigger than Jimmy Dore. People are dying. 300 plus Americans have died from this virus. 14 million plus have tested positive for this virus. 30 to 40 million are at risk of being evicted from their homes at the end of January 31st. We've got an economic crisis and a climate crisis, but yet this article is talking about how Jimmy Dore is being mean to Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who voted for the stimulus bill. Only 2 Democrats, by the way, again, everyone, got to make this very clear. That stimulus bill, only 2 Democrats voted against it. Only 2. Representative Tulsi Gabbard and Representative Rashid Tlaib. Only those 2. Only those 2. I don't see any other Democrat in there. And there was a handful of Republicans that also voted against it. But only 2 Democrats. You want to know, gee, whose name is missing? Oh, AOC. So it's kind of fair for us to kind of like push back and say, AOC, what is going on?
Wait, Kit, I'm sorry about to interrupt, but Kit, are you saying to our audience here that we shouldn't just lick the feet of our representatives 24/7, that we should maybe say, we put you in office, we expect something, and if they don't do it, put an effort in to try and do something about it?
Yeah.
It just reminds me very much, like the way that I see we do this show, like this show here at Hard Lens, very much is that we attack Democrats and then we really go after the Democrats that will actually be listening. And one of the reasons for that is because it's like the Republicans they're lost. Like that is a party that is so far removed from like any level of reality that there's no real like talking to them. So really what there is here is an opportunity when you have actual people who call themselves and, act out of like their own progressive morals to like get their ear. And you don't necessarily do it by being polite. You don't necessarily do it by being mean and hyperbolic either, but I do think that, these are the representatives that we hold to the fire.
Yep.
Makes the most sense.
So with that being said, I have well, it's not fantastic, but it's a brain vomit-inducing article. You could check it out in the show notes below. And when this video is clipped, check out our full live stream version of the show. You can find the show notes there. So in case you see this clipped, where the show notes are at, they're on the live stream show. So again, I'll try and read some highlighted paragraphs from this. And then I got 2 videos to share with you guys as well. So let's start off. Last month, Dore argued that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her progressive allies can best advance the cause of universal health care by denying Nancy Nancy Pelosi the support she needs to retain the speakership until she agrees to hold a House vote on Medicare for all. Dore considers this course of action so self-evidently optional that the only possible explanation for why Ocasio-Cortez declined to pursue it is that the Congresswoman is a fraud who cares more about her career than the needs of her constituents. She is standing between you and health care, Dore told his viewers last week, responding to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's argument that it takes years of organizing to lay down the groundwork for seemingly spontaneous progressive breakthroughs. Dore exclaimed, "I figured this out in 2 weeks, AOC, you liar, you coward, you gaslighter." The comedian's proposition, if not his condemnation of AOC, was taken up by a gaggle of other left-wing YouTube commentators, among them former MSDNC anchor Crystal Ball, host of Secular Talk Kyle Kalinske, and ex-Bernie Sanders campaign and spokesperson Brianna Joy Gray. Ocasio-Cortez's decision to respond to their call on Twitter further amplified its reach. Dore was not entirely absurd. AOC and other progressives did center calls for single-payer health care during the primary campaigns. The Democrats' razor-thin majority in the new Congress gives these lawmakers leverage to extract demands from Pelosi in exchange for their support. We are in the middle of a pandemic which millions of Americans have lost their employer-provided health care. So why not use one's leverage to force a national debate or the progressive movement's signature cause? It's important to be clear, however, about what this tactic could and could not have possibly achieved. There is no rational basis for believing that forcing a House vote on Medicare for all will lead to the nationalization of healthcare insurance industry next year. No, that's not what Jimmy Dore is asking. Jimmy Dore is saying, put Medicare for all vote on the floor so we can also expose Congress for the frauds that they are, the heartless bastards that they are. And when corporate media from 2016 and even before 2016 kept on shooting down the idea of Medicare for all and other progressive policies, because guess what? Corporate media, similar to all the politicians in Washington, D.C., both Democrat and Republican, are owned by corporations. They are owned. They're proud prostitutes to the establishment, the extreme centrists, the top 1%. And Jimmy Dore is just saying, withhold your vote for speakership, have someone else as Speaker of Nancy, than Nancy. But if Nancy does put it on the floor vote, I want to see who's going to vote for it, who's going to vote against it. We want to see who these people are so we can kick their butts out of Congress so that we can protest in front of their homes, so we make their lives miserable, because as far as I'm concerned, none of those elected representatives in the House and Senate deserve our respect, deserve our kindness, deserve any compassion, because they're public servants. They work for us. And again, we're seeing on social media how everyone's saying, well, it's just white males that are allying with Jimmy Dore. Gee, white males? White males?
That seems like very identity politics-y for not a lot of reason.
Yeah.
Well, and it sounds really familiar, doesn't it?
Hey, maybe they're all the Bernie bros. That's where they're at. They're trying to get people health care.
Bernie bros.
Yeah. So again, there's so much I want to cover in this article but it's so vomit-inducing at the same time. So here, I want to just read some excerpts here. To see what I mean by this, it's worth examining the most thoughtful case for Dore's strategy in some detail. Brianna Joy Gray's case for forcing a floor vote on Medicare for all features fewer unprovable allegations about AOC's crypto-corporatism than Dore's YouTube rants, but far more lucid reasoning. Her argument can be summarized as follows. The pandemic has made Medicare for all more substantially necessary. Although AOC argues that the opportunity cost as too high to waste on a floor vote for a bill that would ultimately pass, the extraordinary circumstances of the COVID pandemic makes this the best chance that progressives are going to get to win Medicare for all for the foreseeable future. Now is the time for House progressives to coordinate with activists and social movements and leverage organized labor and the threat of a general strike to transform political reality. Even if the vote fails, forcing debate could spark a referendum on our failing healthcare system. Okay, so let me just say this. The author is just trying to go after Jimmy Dore because he's making people feel uncomfortable, and that we're going after basically celebrity politicians. AOC has earned herself a very large following, and her win in 2018 was a historic event. And there's, again, a lot more I want to share in this article because it goes into detail about, well, how Medicare for All has failed at the state level, how Medicare for All, the fight for it will actually ruin the chances for us getting Medicare for All, and how we shouldn't be listening to left-wingers on YouTube. But see, here's the thing. And he also tries to discredit the polling data that shows that conservatives even like Medicare for All.
Hey,
well,
remember, we've talked about this. Who cares about math and science when it doesn't agree with us?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Corporate media is now trying to weigh in on this, and they want to take away the initiative. notice very few people are really talking. Those who are really higher echelon, have higher platforms, really are talking about the bigger picture that Jimmy Dore is bringing up. And that is, we need to have this vote on the floor. We need to expose Congress, and we need to get people angry. How can think about it? How can Congress and all these elected officials truly defend themselves? How can corporate media truly defend themselves if they say no to Medicare for all, no to medical debt forgiveness at the height of a pandemic? Other countries have figured it out. We don't have Medicare for all. And you want to know why corporate media and the establishment aren't really listening to Jimmy Dore or anyone else that's calling for Medicare for all? It's because they really don't have an argument for it, because it makes too much sense. It shows that for the past decades, the establishment willingly and knowingly put all of us at risk because we're cogs in the machine for them. That's why they don't deserve our respect. That's why they don't deserve our compassion. And that's why, to Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, you made a mistake voting for the stimulus bill. You can still do some good. Force the vote. Hashtag force the vote. Hashtag force the vote. Let me be very clear about this, okay? We got to fight, because if we don't fight now, people will die. People are dying. Americans are dying. In the richest country in the world, we can't provide health care for our people. How did this happen? It's because of career politicians like Nancy. But hold on, Daniel, I know you want to comment. I want to rewind back the clocks. We're going to time travel. Kira, hold on. We're going to time travel, everyone.
Okay, we're going to time travel?
Yes, hold on. Opening up the time link. Faze, I think we're seeing somebody speak. Oh my goodness, it's Nancy. What does she have to say?
Thank you very much, Congressman McDermott, for holding this press conference and for your leadership on the single-payer proposal. I remain a staunch and ardent supporter of the McDermott-Conyers bill. I am very pleased with the President's presentation last night. I'm sure others this morning have told you that he made an excellent diagnosis of the problem, and now we have to get on with how we take care of providing health care to all Americans. My problem with the President's proposal, if there is a problem, is that one of the principles of universal access, one of the principles of the single-payer bill is universal access. The President has accepted some of the principles of the McDermott legislation, be it universal access, no precondition, portability, you know, the list goes on and on. But for access to be universal, it must be affordable. And my concern is that at 150% of poverty, a family would have to start paying for its 20% share of the insurance, may not make it affordable to many of the families whose needs it hopes to address. There is already a concession on the part of the federal government that a family needs food stamps if they're at 185% of the poverty level. If we admit that people cannot feed their families at below 185% of poverty, how then can we expect them to pay for access to insurance at 150% of poverty? I think the President is on the right track. I think the closer he moves toward the single payer, the better. As I've said before, I hope that this plan, and when I say hope, I mean that I will join with my colleagues here in working to see that the plan that the Congress passes contains as many of the provisions of single payer as possible, that it does not foreclose on an eventual single payer, and that it does not throw up obstacles to states easily establishing their own single payer. Once again, I want to commend Mr. McDermott and Mr. Conyers for their leadership on this. Thank you.
She should tell Nancy Pelosi that.
Yeah, Nancy. Nancy, what happened? What happened to Nancy? What happened to Nancy? What happened to you, Nancy? Kira, what are your comments?
Sorry, I was listening from my phone and I'm a little delayed from y'all. So, I have to go through all the steps and unmute and turn down my phone and all of those things. Well, when I read this article, I kind of felt like, and maybe I just got a different sense of the writer, of the author of this. I kind of felt like he was a little defeatist more than anything, right? Did you guys get that sense? He's just like,
okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, my whole initial thought is this person is just trying to do everything they can to derail the momentum behind force to vote. And again, this is bigger than Jimmy. Jimmy Dore has said it himself. This isn't about his ego. This isn't about Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore has said this. This is bigger than all of us. We need to do hashtag force the vote. AOC, you want some redemption? Get you and your other 14 fellow progressive congressmen and women to do hashtag withhold your vote, force the vote for Medicare for all. Do it, AOC.
Yeah.
Kira.
So I guess, what I was hearing in that, and it's always so fun to do this panel with you guys because this is what we get out of it as like this opportunity to really hear things in a different way. I thought he sounded really defeatist. Like, yeah, man, like I agree with you on the Medicare for all thing and that it's direly needed right now. I mean, he just kept, right?
Yeah.
Kept going back to that point of actually being in agreement of the actual legislation of Medicare for all, like everybody should be covered by health insurance. But then he lays out these points and it's just like, wow, like you've just given up before even like trying has begun. Right? Like, so he's just like, well, the moneyed and media interests are so powerful. There's really no way to beat them. And then he lays out all these examples about how the media and moneyed interests have defeated progressive causes in the past. He even brought up Illinois' fair tax, progressive tax legislation that what's his face, our governor,
JB Pritzker. JB Pritzker. Hey, JB. Hey, JB.
What's his face was totally in support of, but $100 million later, and you have people voting against their own interests, right? 53% voted against the fair tax, where basically it said, hey, we can tax people who make over $250,000 without lifting the taxes on everybody else. People voted against that. And so like, yeah, good point. And like, so you fight, right? You just let the moneyed interest like bulldoze you. Is that really what you're suggesting? Yeah. And then, and then he goes into like, well, and single payer is not that popular. If you, and he's like, if you put it in this terminology, people weren't as supportive of it. So you see, it's not that popular. And it's just like, okay, yeah, that's how polling works. Welcome to the club, dude. And then point 3 was like, well, and then you have these purple state Democrats that aren't going to vote on Medicare for all because they've already, and it's like, yeah, dude, that's the point of holding the vote, to get them on the record saying, I'm not interested in giving you healthcare. And then you could even juxtapose that to their vote for their own healthcare increase. Right? That would be a neat way of really illustrating things for the American people, right? Yep. And then he did make a point about things to fight for that are easier to obtain and would impact more lives, like the refugee situation. But at the same time, it's like, what about yes and? Have you ever taken an improv class? Like, hello, it was just a really, like, when I was reading it, I was just like, oh man, like I kind of felt bad for him. Like I was like,
maybe he
dude's
needs a hug,
like defeated,
or maybe he needs Medicare for all.
I'm actually, Kira, you got me thinking in this way, so I appreciate this. I'm gonna redo this entire article as a conversation between a father and his daughter. Aww. Okay, ready for this?
Right. Okay, yeah.
Daughter, father, family move into a new house in an area, probably not with like LA, somewhere cheaper, probably. Let's just say.
Okay.
And they get the house, and the daughter realizes that everyone on the block has a dog, and there's also other daughters as well. All of them have dogs.
Oh, okay.
And so she goes and she sees, oh man, over there and over there, they all have dogs. I love dogs. I would love to have a dog. So she goes to her dad and says, Dad, I want a dog. I want to take care of it. I want to love it. And I'll make sure to clean up after it, and it'll make me a better person. And everyone else has dogs, and they're all my age, and I think I should have one too. And the dad goes, well, you see here, dogs are great. I love dogs just as much as the next dog guy. I actually had a dog when I was younger, and I was renting it at least. And I think dogs are great. I think dogs are wonderful. I think they would be really good. But dogs are also a lot of work. Who's going to take care of it? Who's going to clean up after it? We have to spend additional money to buy dog food. And I understand that all these other places around seem to have a dog and they seem to be doing really well and the family seems to be better and healthier and more together and more connected with that dog. But did you know that you can call dogs baby eaters? And when you offer someone to adopt a baby eater, not as many people want. I don't think our good friends across the street, the Geralds, would want to have a baby eater in their house. So I understand what you want and what you're asking for. But we don't have room for a baby eater right now. I'm really sorry.
I like how you just totally turned that upside down, man. So, look, folks, this is bigger than all of us. We need to have this fight. But yet, notice, corporate media is getting desperate because they can't control that narrative. And there are conservatives, libertarians, and Republicans that agree with Democrats, socialists, Greens, that we need to have Medicare for all. This isn't controversial at all. Hashtag force the vote. If you go to Movement for People's Party, go to their Twitter page. Pinned on their Twitter is the link to forcethevote.org. Go there. I signed my name on that petition. I ask all of you to sign your name on that petition. Representative AOC, you can do good. You don't owe the Democrats anything because the Democrats denied progressives any seat at the table. If you're locked in the basement and you can't get out, break out, get the keys and get yourself out. Fight back. You have said so yourself, even when you're campaigning, is that we must hold all of you, including you, AOC, accountable. Don't hero worship these politicians, but we got to try. Otherwise, if the progressive Democrats don't force the vote or withhold the vote, well, then guess what? You proved Jimmy Dore right, that you guys don't have a backbone, that you're not going to fight. When is a good time? What does holding politicians' feet to the fire look like? Now, I know we've been all a little negative and a little bit dealing with all this stuff. We had a time travel to see when Nancy Pelosi had somewhat of a soul, but I don't want to confirm or deny whether she had a soul during that entire time travel event. But real quick, let's have a palate cleanser here. Let's play this video of Jimmy Dore and Cornel West talking about force the vote.
With a movement for a People's Party. We are forcethevote.org. So if you go right there, forcethevote.org, there it is. Go to forcethevote.org, sign the petition. We're all coming together to push this right now because there's a moment right now that could happen. And if in the middle of a deadly pandemic, this is the time for a Medicare for all vote. And in fact, all we're doing is pressuring the people who ran on getting this to do it. And they can do it right now. So I really think this can happen. I really do. This is what this is how you create moments. And you think this? I mean, you've seen way more than I have. You think this could happen, right?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And you see, the thing about history is so mysterious. It's so unpredictable. You never know what's going to be the catalyst. Who would have thought that it'd be Brother Floyd that would be the catalyst for that kind of magnificent response here and around the world? You never know. You just keep fighting. You keep bearing witness, and you keep being true to the best of who you are. Keep your integrity and love at the center of it, and then boom, it takes off in an unprecedented way.
And that's the truth. And here's the thing. It's bigger than Jimmy. It's bigger than all of us. I think people don't like the messenger. Well, too bad if you don't like the messenger because he's speaking the truth. It's something we all need to hear. The rest of the world has Medicare for all, and we don't. We are entitled to it. We deserve it. Let's get it happening. Enough people, enough have died. Enough have been hurt. Enough have been put into homelessness. No more. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and to all the other progressive congressmen and women. Hashtag force the vote. In the name of humanity, in the name of compassion, in the name of what you ran on. For us, force the vote. Nancy's got to go.
And I just want to really quickly jump in and add to my analogy from earlier. Your representatives, in the word is representative. You represent a large amount of people because the system was set up when we had horses carrying letters, and that's the best way to do it. So, when your constituency that you are representing has a high polling average for Medicare for all, you don't get to say, you guys don't matter. I, the person who's representative, who's supposed to be a conduit for what you guys want, you don't get to say no, because that's not your job. Your job is to best enact the wishes and the desires of the people of your district. And I think it's, unless someone's going to argue that the majority of people in AOC's district don't want health care, you know, the people working class in New York that is sort of the perfect representation of people that do, or in this article, like to your original point here where I was making the analogy is, I don't think he sounds defeated. I think it's very belittling. Like, how do you think so? Maybe he's personally defeated, maybe he's not, but there's very much a, how dare you, the voter, ask us to do something. We're your betters. We know best. We have ice cream. You barely do. That's what we're dealing with.
I guess the reason I thought he sounded defeated is because in the way that I was reading it, and, you know, to be fair, like I got to read it. Oh, I gave it a once through, right? But I think the reason I thought I heard a defeatist tone, even though that's probably not at all what he was trying to like portray, is because at no point did he actually argue that Medicare for all was not a good idea. Right? It sounded like he was actually in the camp of, you know, it's actually single payer is a really good idea, especially right now during a pandemic. And like, it's not going to do anything, you guys.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what that was the sense.
I agree with you. That's why I was like the dad that I invented for this. He never said dogs were bad.
Yeah, that's true. All right, with that being said, hashtag force the vote. Let's make it happen. Keep on sharing on social media. Sign your name on that petition. We must fight for a better future. With that being said, we're going to move on now to our next story. Before we do, we got a YouTube super chat from Jeffrey Zachary, $2. Congress has not earned our respect. Absolutely. I agree full-heartedly. I'm seeing this live stream.
They have to earn our respect.
Yeah, I'm seeing this live stream chat again.
The opposite of earn our respect.
And hold on, Andrew Golick, he says, hashtag drop Pelosi in a volcano. To which I have to say, good. Popeye the Sailor says, hashtag force them to work. Oh, that was beautiful. And then Bride's Biscuit, Medicare for all or primary them all. Let's make it happen. So, with that,
by the way, it's pretty useful to know who to primary based on how they vote.
Or hold on, wait. Impotent person hashtag number 1 says, you guys want to see what holding politician responsible looks like? Take a page from 1789 France.
Man, that's back when you needed guillotine insurance. That stuff was expensive the wealthier you got.
And then Space Junkie says Kit should definitely keep the goatee. Makes him look like evil Spock. I did not know that. All right, with that being said, Kira, you got a story for the people. What is going on?
Well, I don't know. Let's find out. Okay. Yeah. So this was an extremely extensive article that I really highly recommend folks read, especially if you if you do enjoy like personal stories, personal renditions of people's real life struggles and hardships. This particular article had me definitely shedding some tears, and I will definitely hold it together on air today. So health outcomes, as many of us know, for Black men are very poor. Black men live shorter lives than all other Americans, 71 and a half years versus 76 years for white men. So like 5-year difference. And have for generations. In fact, Black men's life expectancy didn't reach 65, the eligibility age for Medicare, until 1995, 30 years after the federal health program for the elderly became law. White men were living into their mid-60s by 1950. The shorter lifespans reflect a broader disparity. Black people have much higher rates of hypertension, obesity, diabetes, and strokes than white people do. And they developed those chronic conditions up to 10 years earlier. The gap persisted this year when the Brookings Institution examined COVID-19 deaths by race. In each age category, Black people were dying at roughly the same rate as white people who are more than a decade older than them. I found this article extremely interesting, not only because the statistics are so alarming, and I'm going to get into more of those in just a moment here, but also what this author and these studies are pointing to as one of the main causes of this early death phenomenon that we're seeing of Black men in America. So COVID-19 has killed 1 out of every 800 African Americans.
Wow.
That alone, that's unacceptable. A toll that overwhelms the imagination. Even more stunning is the deadly efficiency with which it has targeted young Black men. One study using data through July found that Black people ages 35 to 44 were dying at 9 times the rate of white people the same age, though the gap slightly narrowed later in the year. And an analysis for ProPublica this summer using the only reliable data at the time accounting for age, race, and gender from Michigan and Georgia found that the disparity was greatest in Black men. To help illuminate this gap in knowledge and gain a deeper understanding of why America has lost so many young Black men to COVID-19, ProPublica spent months gathering their stories, starting with hundreds of news articles, obituaries, and medical examiners reports, then interviewing the relatives and friends of nearly 24 men, along with researchers who specialize in Black men's health. Their efforts led to little-known body of research that takes its name from one of the most enduring symbols of Black American resilience. Do you guys remember the legend of John Henry?
Yes, I know the legend of John Henry. Yes, the
so
ballad of John Henry. Actually,
Was that remind me?
Okay, so John Henry, as the story goes, hardworking man, but then the railway company created a steam engine that's going to lay the rail down faster, but
and then
John Henry beat the crap out of that steam engine.
But then he died.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So he was a steel driving man, like you said, who defeated a steam powered drill and died with a hammer in his hand. The folktale celebrates one man's victory against seemingly insurmountable odds, but it holds another harsher truth. His determination and strength are also what killed him. The John Henry of contemporary social theory is a man striving to get ahead in an unequal society. The effort of confronting that machine day in and day out, compounded over a lifetime, leads to stress so corrosive that it physically changes bodies, causing Black men to age quicker, become sicker, and die younger than nearly any other U.S. demographic group. And COVID-19 is a new gear in the old machine, is what this ProPublica article said. So, in interviews about the young men who died from the virus, a portrait emerged of this modern John Henry, the hardworking, ambitious, optimistic, persistent, trying to lift others along with themselves kind of character. And, the very people that communities would have turned to first, for recover from pandemic help, they're entrepreneurs, employers, confidants, coaches, pastors, barbers, family men, they, like I said, they tell the personal stories of a lot of these men in this article. So if you feel like getting really angry or crying, you can read the article. We'll post the link. As it documents nearly a dozen young Black men who died from COVID in their 30s or 40s, which is a disaster. So what is it about this John Henry persona that creates this early death? Well, stress is a physiological reaction hardwired in the body that helps protect it against external threats. At the first sign of danger, the brain sounds an alarm and sends off a torrent of neurological and hormonal signals that whoosh into the bloodstream, stimulating the body to fight or give flight. The heart beats faster, breathing quickens, blood vessels dilate, more oxygen reaches the brain and muscles. The immune system's inflammatory response is activated to promote quick healing. When the threat passes, the hormone levels return to normal, blood glucose ebbs, and the heart rate and blood pressure go back to baseline. And that's how the human body is designed to work. But overexposure to that consistent stress will actually cause your gears to malfunction. And the constant strain resets the normal. As blood pressure remains high and inflammation becomes chronic, the inner linings of the blood vessels start to harden and thicken and stiffen, which forces the heart to work harder, which then dysregulates other organs until they too begin to fail and your body starts to wear down. The phenomenon is known as weathering. And the cumulative effects of stress actually begin in the womb when cortisol released into a pregnant woman's bloodstream causes the placenta. And it's one of the reasons a disproportionate number of Black babies are born too early and too small. Then exposure to adverse childhood experiences, anything from abuse and neglect to poverty, hunger, continues the toxic stream. Too much exposure to cortisol at a critical stage in development can rewire the neurological system's fight or flight response, essentially causing the brain stress switch to break. The more stress a youngster endures, the more likely he or she'll have academic, behavioral, and health problems, from depression to obesity. So it's not, weathering isn't specific to any race, but it's believed to take a particularly large toll on Black people because of the unique, unrelenting stress caused by racism that wears away the body and spirit. And I mean, there's just so much more for me to say on this topic, because this is actually what I work inside of, is stress reflex inside of my movement work. And to put this on top of, right, everything else that Black people are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. You think about like the environmental racism that they're already dealing with, you know, just even being born into more poverty on average than the average white person or average American is already toll enough. And now we start to see these studies and this research talking about how, no, like from basically the womb, you are going to be saddled with this extra thing that's going to cause you more health problems. And I thought the whole article was extremely exquisitely written. And I do invite people to read the entire thing. There's a lot there, and I'm going to stop short just so that you guys have time to say something.
So I think actually we're running to the end of the show. I'm gonna leave Kira with her thing if you want to add something.
Basically, here's the thing. This is a sad state of affairs in this country. Again, hashtag force the vote. Hashtag force the vote. Jimmy Dore's right. Sign your name on the petition. Let's get it to happen. I want to hand over to Daniel real quick. I think it's only fair that I guess you got a story zero. This.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We apologize.
I don't even really have that much time to story zero it. I'm going to do a story -1, I guess. We're going to call it. So I'm just going to say, hey, by the way, every single show we do, in our show notes in the description below, you can have access to all the stuff we're covering in. If you want to know what order we're covering everything in, that's also where you look. So I'm not going to cover this article, but I will tell you about it. And I think the title of the article is Everything You Need to Know About What the Article's About. CIA leads death squads killing children in Afghanistan. It's an interesting read, and it goes to show it. This is one of the effects of the loosening of regulations that Trump has done. You know, we've said on Trump we're really happy he hasn't expanded wars, but he's also loosened the regulations of them. And apparently that means the CIA is like, okay, let's just kill children like in Vietnam. And and it goes through all about the war and what's happening and how there are all these instances of, I'll just read this quote. Residents from 4 districts spoke of a string of massacres, executions, mutilations, forced disappearances, attacks on medical facilities, airstrikes, targeting structures known to have civilians. The victims, according to these residents, were rarely Taliban, yet the Afghan unit and its American masters have never been held publicly accountable by either the Afghan or U.S. governments. And the raids all involve Afghan paramilitaries who are outside the control of the Afghan government and working in conjunction with American handlers. So I go in the description, check out this article. I think it's important. We don't talk about foreign policy enough on the show, but I did feel it was important to bring up that we're letting children die. So, yeah.
All right. Again, check out all our show notes. That link is in the description box below. I want to give a special shout out to everyone that's joining us. Again, everyone, we here at Hardlens Media say hashtag force the vote. I want to thank our tech priest and Sincere Faze for manning the board. Shout out to all of our wonderful, wonderful live stream moderators. The wonderful, incredible Mona Carmona. The wonderful, incredible Ayana. The wonderful, incredible Ali Alexandria. Shout out to E. Heller, the man who leads the way. Shout out to Gamer for Life and also Fred Edward. We also got a YouTube super chat real quick. Got to read it. $4.99 from Vera Besego Romao. Keep it up with the pair working. Keeping it up. We also got a fun Patreon show for all our Patreon supporters.
Right afterwards.
I'm actually, just a heads up, guys. I should have told you this. I'm angry because I got something I got to let off my chest that's been really bothering me. It's going to be a fun holiday Patreon show, but I'm angry. So if you're a Patreon supporter, join us for our Patreon show. If you want to be a Patreon, that link is in the description box below. Follow us on Twitter. Shout out to Daniel, who's my awesome co-host. Shout out to the wonderful, incredible Kieran McCown for joining us as well.
Thanks for having me.
We will not be live on Thursday or Friday, but I will be doing some short live streams for
Kit
those
will be
days.
live.
I will be live with you guys, so I won't leave you alone on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Come on. Come on. No way.
Come on, Jack.
Come on, Jack. You know the thing. Again,
Come on,
Heartlands Media is
man.
live every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're live on Rockfin every Monday and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Check out our fun channel, Chicago Reacts. With that being said, I'm Kit Cabello, the host of Heartlands Media. Peace to you guys. Have a very safe, happy holidays for you all. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus for the rest of us. And let us all acknowledge the wonderful Sanguinius. Peace, and let us all do what we can to build a better future.